Hey, it's Kenias from J2 Esport.
Richard Chucks Papillon.
I'm Apex from G2 Esport.
This is Smith.
Hey, this is Buddy from G2.
I'm MK, and you're here listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 172 coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is August 25th, 2019. The time is 8:27 p.m. This might just be the best episode ever. As we have lots to discuss, we're going to recap and give our thoughts on the International 9 TI-19. Best esports event of the year? We'll discuss it. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know. We have CSGO Berlin Major. We talked a little bit about that last week. We're going to touch on it again as the new challenger stage is somewhat wrapped up. We have 2-2s to get through tomorrow, but we'll discuss that. And as always, we will have e-news to end the show as we get to stories we just don't have the time to get to. But before we do that, be sure and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. You can join our Discord through the link in the profile. Let us know what you think of the show. If you listen on iTunes or anything else that can leave a review, that is always an easy way to let us know. If you leave a review there, we appreciate it. That's about it. Hello, my name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports, and as always, we have a Nuge. Hello, Nuge.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a Sunday night. It's the second time we're recording on a Sunday. It feels good.
It feels really good. I'm like relaxed, ready to go, full of esports right now after this weekend.
Dude, so many esports going on.
So many.
But before we get into that, we have to do a little correction from last week. All the Rainbow Six fans out there, my bad. Forgot to bring up the Rainbow Six Major in Raleigh that finished up last week. And this is definitely my bad because, no joke, like 10 minutes before we were recording, I was watching this like intently. Like I was really watching this tournament. It ended and we jumped right into the show. Didn't even bring it up. Now, two reasons. A, because I'm like borderline Ron Burgundy. If it's not in the script, I can't remember. So if it's not in the show notes, which we forgot to add it to because, again, we jumped right into the show after the tournament, didn't bring it up, and that's pretty much it. If it's not in the show notes, I don't remember because I'm like that. I'm a simple-minded peasant. What do you want from me?
And don't worry, we heard from you guys, so we knew we had to bring it up today. So
yes,
again,
so
apologies.
You did have Team Empire beating G2 last week in the Raleigh Major for Rainbow Six Siege. The big takeaway from this, and we don't have to get into it obviously because it was eons ago in esports time, but this was the first time G2 lost a major that they were in. So that's pretty unreal. Like they've had such a dominant hold on Rainbow Six Siege for the longest time.
How long have they had the same roster for?
That's a very good question that I don't know off the top of my head. I know they've made little roster moves here and there. Like they added Uno back in May of this year. But other than that, the core of the team's been together for pretty much a year. Like almost, yeah, I think exactly like a year at this point is when the main roster, right? 4 out of the 5 got together. So it's for the most part, like that's pretty good. You know, you're only making one roster move within a year.
Yeah.
So
just to keep a team that long together is again relatively unheard of in esports.
Yeah. So that's, like I said, it's just kind of unreal when you think back. Like looking at the first time within a year, that's the first time they lose in a major. And even then, outside of a major, they don't lose very often. So props to Team Empire for taking down the GOAT for Rainbow. So there's that. We made good on our Rainbow news. And we'll get into the TI here in a second. But before I do that, I just want to do a real quick clutch and kick with you, Anuj, because our listeners might not know this, but we live in Dallas, Texas. And this week, the XFL announced their new teams, right? XFL's coming back, all that fun stuff. Overall, pretty spare teams. Definitely create a team in Madden worthy of team names and logos, if I don't say so myself. One of those teams, though, kind of actually sparked a little interest in esports because our very own Dallas Renegades have made a roster. I guess that's their team name, right? Dallas Renegades.
Yeah, Dallas Renegades.
And their logo is, think of like a cowboy, but with a bandana.
Sound familiar?
You know what? Now that you mention it, it does sound familiar because it's the same name as every other, or is the same logo that shares with anybody named Renegades. Like, so I guess the clutch and kick here is, should the Dallas Renegades be shamed for stealing the Detroit Renegades logo?
It
And
looks
name?
exactly the same.
It
It
does.
looks.
It does, because and I agree that it's even like looking off into the same direction, right? But if you just look up like sports team Renegades, right? Just Google it. And like the whole look, the issue isn't that the Dallas Renegades kind of jacked the normal esports Renegades logo. It's that
Who
Renegades
jacked it first?
is a generic ass name for a team. And then you throw in an outlaw looking dude with bandana over his face, like a renegade. No one is at fault here other than for being a basic bitch, pretty much, with your team name.
I'm looking at like a lot of the pictures right now, just
They're
for Renegades.
all the same. Look up
Yeah, it's
Renegade
pretty-
sports teams on Google. The first 6 pretty much are all the same.
I'm like trying to see how closely these images are of one another.
They
I
are
mean,
all the same.
it's a little different, right? Like the bandana has some wrinkles in it in different spots. Eyes are
Dallas has
differently
red
shaped.
eyes.
The hat is different, right? It just
Yeah.
looks incredibly similar, but it is, I mean, different enough, I guess, to work. Obviously,
But if you look up like Ottawa Renegades or the Kansas City Renegades, they all have that same concept. So I guess
like
before
it's a clutch for them ripping off the the picture. It's a kick for Renegades ripping off everybody else.
right, yeah.
You know,
Like, sure, I guess you can say they ripped off Renegades, but Renegades isn't innocent in this either because they also ripped off another generic team name somewhere down the line. So that's the life lesson here is, let's think before we start sending the esports hornet's nest at Dallas Renegades for stealing ideas, when what are the odds that they ever even heard of the esports Renegades?
they probably did the same thing. They Googled it. They looked at a bunch of pictures and like, okay, change this up just
just
enough.
Let's just get
Do
the
what
paint
everybody
tool
else
and
did
mix
here.
up the colors a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
they're playing in the baseball stadium over here, which is pretty cool, though.
yeah.
The Dallas Renegades.
Yep. They're going to be playing where the Rangers, I mean,
Yeah.
will be used to play because they get all the new stadium and all that. Whatever.
Real
So there you
sports.
go. So stay hard, esports Renegades, because you're now just the forgotten son as the XFL Dallas Renegades are going to take over until that one goes out of business again. So there's that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Some people mentioned it in Discord, and I saw everyone on Twitter mentioning it, and I just laughed because I'm like, no, let's not give anyone too much credit here for just being overly creative or generic, because we have the International this weekend, Anuj, and it is by far one of my favorite events of the year, hands down. And this is coming from a guy who I really sparingly play Dota anymore. My Dota days were long gone behind me, so now I just kind of play periodically, and it's much like with you and in League. It's just kind of playing ARAM or against bots or doing something spare, like one-on-one lane fights and things like that. It's never
Not
really a
jumping
full
into
match.
any Summoner's Rifts anymore, you know?
Yeah, yeah, not really doing anything full time for Dota. But the TI, I think it's hard pressed that even if you're not interested in the game, to just completely ignore it. The hype leading into it with the prize pool constantly getting built up and just the production around it. I mean, it is all over. You know, you open up Steam, it's all over Steam. Like Valve is promoting it. It's all over Twitch. Twitch is sending out emails. If you have the notification set on for emails, they're sending that out to tune in. Like there is a lot of attention drawn to the international, and perfectly so. Like I think it perfectly warrants that attention because
You're always kind of waiting for like the opening ceremonies. I mean, like there's just so many things to look
Yeah.
forward to, not just the game itself, right? Like the game itself obviously is great for what it is, but you just have from the opening ceremonies, you wait for the game appearance, right? Like
Yeah.
you're looking at the prize pool. Like there's so many things to talk about that make it a true event and not just you don't just think only Dota. You're looking for so much more when you really watch it.
and I'll beat this to death because I always bring it up on the show. But like when I think of what makes a good event, it's the celebration of whatever game it is. Think of like the Fortnite World Cup. I thought did a very good job of celebrating Fortnite. The international obviously does an amazing job celebrating Dota. But there's really not a whole lot of tournaments out there that do a good job of celebrating the game, and we'll get to that in a little bit, talking about the stepchild of Valve in Counter-Strike. I think
You
it's
see
been
it happening right now.
yeah, like I think it's just officially determined, and it's kind of funny, right? Where let's just we can talk about it now because I don't ever maybe this has happened before and I'm just not remembering correctly, but the fact that you have the two big Valve games, Counter-Strike and Dota, and they're both now having like a big tournament in the same time period, right? Give or
Yeah,
take a couple
yeah.
weeks. But you have the
Difference in
international
like the finals versus like the first round
starting
of
up.
it, but yeah, still
Right.
going on
So
simultaneously.
you have the
yeah.
international, and then you have the Counter-Strike major in Berlin going on. Made by the same people, but yet treated completely 100% different. Like Valve is such the redheaded stepchild, or I'm sorry, Counter-Strike is such a redheaded stepchild to Valve and Gaben. It's not even funny because like you said at the international, they pump the tires up so much. They have game announcements, right? You have new hero announcements and events. They announced the next TI coming up, which will be in Stockholm, Sweden, by the way, for 2020. They do so much of the production. The opening ceremony, my God, that's like a mini Olympics opening
It
ceremony.
really is. It has like a true Olympics vibe to
Like
it.
you
And
have
they've
like
been doing that for like 4 years now.
yeah,
It's
and
not anything new.
you have like the drummer because of course it's in Shanghai, right? So China always does it up, and it's like I mean hell, have you seen like they were so pumped up for this? Like people are like on the streets of Hong Kong and everything. It's like insane how they're so fired up.
They're just celebrating everywhere.
That's why they're there, right? That's what Hong Kong is doing. They were just
Oh
hyped.
man.
They were just hyped for OG. Isn't that what it was? That's what I read anyway.
Getting on the street, taking to the streets for them.
But for real, like it's like a whole like Chinese drumming show thing going on.
I forgot that Amazon was on fire because of the event.
And then you have Valve and Counter-Strike where you might be able to stream it if you don't get caught, and you might be able to talk about it, but you might also get the YouTube video taken down. It's a mess, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Berlin major
Do
more
you
in
think
detail,
Valve
but
even knows what's going on with that stuff right now
not a
in
clue.
Counter Strike?
Not a clue.
Like they just haven't caught up on the Twitter. They haven't
Like
just
they
been
are
following
still
it all.
riding that TI high that they haven't even realized that the Counter-Strike major has started. They don't have a clue what's going on. It's just and like the fact that Gaben shows up, right, to talk to the
Yeah.
crowd, to address his people, and yet he's never once been to a CS:GO major. Not once. Like you tell me that like it isn't so obvious that they just don't care about Counter-Strike. And I would laugh at you because it's like it is the most obvious thing in esports and how little Valve gives a rip about CS.
And this is not like this is only the first time I can remember where they're happening at the same time, right? So even if you wanted to give him a pass for not showing up for the first round, but he's not showing up to the finals. He
No.
like never showed up to the finals. It's just not. I just don't think he's interested in it. Honestly, he doesn't play Counter Strike, so
I mean, he's always been
he's
a
a Dota
MMO
player.
kind of guy,
Yeah.
he's that's always been his niche, but still, come on, send some type of representative over to a major to address the crowd
Yeah.
and do something. We've talked about it for so much that CS:GO majors really don't feel like any more important other than us talking about it, right? Like that is the only pomp and circumstance between a CS:GO major is people call it a major and they talk about it a little more, and maybe the play-by-play is a little bit more hype, but overall it still just kind of feels like a normal tournament. So
31 million less on the line.
yeah, with with much less on the line. We did have though for this international a lot of storylines going in and a lot of things going on. A few of the teams I wanted to highlight here were number one was Infamous. Infamous was the only South American team mainly made up of people from Peru. They took on Team Secret in the losers semifinals, or not semifinals, in the second round of losers. They defeated Newbie 2-1 in the first round of losers. It was just from that angle, and they even talked to the guys afterwards. Oh no, wait, correction. They beat Newbie round 2. They lost round 3 to Team Secret. There you go. I knew I had something wrong. But they did like interviews with all the players and everything, and it's just so funny to see how, because you don't think of like South America and Dota, right? Like that doesn't really go, that's not like a 1-1. You don't really
It's like
think of
Counter
it.
Strike, and that's really about it. It feels like.
And it was so funny because they were interviewing the guys, and it was all in whatever language they speak and everything. Peruvian? What does Peru speak?
No.
Spanish?
We can go with maybe Portuguese, Spanish.
South American? Something?
What do
They
the
don't speak
Peruvians
American. That's all I know.
Spanish.
Spanish.
is the
Okay,
national
there we
language.
go. So they speak
Yeah.
Spanish, so I didn't pull
Just
the
overthought
audio.
it.
But it was so funny because like they were asking like, hey, what's it like being here? What's it like seeing some of these professional players that you obviously like, have to worship? And like one of the guys was like, yeah, like growing up, it just wasn't a big deal in South America. So I didn't even know there was like a professional scene until like a couple years ago. He was like, I didn't know this was a thing until recently. So yeah, I guess it's pretty nuts, but I don't know anyone here.
Yeah, I have no idea who we're playing against.
Right, like I'm just
And it's
I'm
probably a
just here
good thing,
having a fun
right? I
time.
mean, you can you just go play.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see. I mean, obviously eliminating Newbie, who's a Dota staple, right? That's a team that's always been in the international. They eliminated them. And then you have Team Secret, which is again like a Dota staple team. They lost to them 2-0, but the first match of that went 57 minutes, which I think once you hit the 50-minute barrier for a Dota match, in my opinion, you can say you made them work for it. Like the average Dota match, I would say lasts anywhere from 30 to 40, 45 minutes. So once it hits that 50, 57 minutes, close to an hour mark, that's going into you went into overtime at that point.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it a little differently. So I would say, like, even against Team Secret, they played really, really well for being their first, like, major international debut. Shout out to Infamous. Then you, of course, have the two teams in the finals. It was Liquid versus OG. real
Liquid
quick,
making a crazy run, man.
dude.
Like to
Yes.
do what they did, um, it just doesn't happen now. I mean, they played some stellar talent really from like round 4 onwards. Every team they played was gonna give them, you had to play
Yeah.
your best game.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it last week where Liquid did not perform well in Group A. They went 2-2-4 in Group A, giving them a solid, pass go, do not collect 200, straight shot to the losers bracket, which again for Team Liquid, say what you want about them, they should probably be in the winners bracket, right? Like they should probably start in the upper bracket to go with, but nonetheless, they were in the losers bracket or the lower bracket. They don't call it a loser, just how whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care. They started in the lower bracket, took on Fnatic in the 1-game elimination, so they kicked out Fnatic. And then from there, literally didn't drop a single game up until the lower bracket finals against
Yeah.
LGD, where they lost the first game again in 52 minutes. Right, so no slouch there. Then even game 2 went 59 minutes, so pretty nuts. That was a crazy game as well. But yeah, for Liquid to make it all the way to the grand finals while starting in round 1 lower bracket, like during the broadcast, they kept bringing up Team Secret, right? Because they lost round 1 of upper bracket against EG and then went to the lower bracket. And people were like, Team Secret coming all the way from the lower bracket. And I'm like,
Liquid was born there.
Liquid is just sitting there in the locker room like, am I a joke to you? Like, what's going on here? Like, we got one round ahead of them for the lower bracket. So what the hell's going on here? But yeah, so Liquid played amazingly. Just you ran into destiny. We've talked about it before. Like there are times in life, whether it be esports or traditional sports, where you can't stop destiny. And OG was that team to have destiny in this year's international. There's never been a team to win back-to-back, let alone never been a team to win 2 internationals. Every time there's been an international, Nuge, it's been a new winner. Every single time.
Well, because generally they retire right after.
They're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with
done.
this prize pool.
This will work. Yeah, I mean to go back to back, I think for Liquid just getting a map win in the finals felt like a win in itself, right? But there was just so much riding around. If OG, I mean, kind of when you were just hearing the analyst, if OG just did what they were supposed to do, they were supposed to win this matchup,
Of course.
And what can you say? I mean, these guys came through, they performed, they were able to do it under the lights again. You're seeing a lot of teams that did make it pretty far, or teams that have been, in similar situations, right? Teams that have a lot of experience on them or are kind of advancing through. And you saw a lot of experience on the stage for that finals there. And OG really, there wasn't much that was going to be able to stop them. They would really have to have some bad map or not map picks, bad summoner picks, and
Yeah,
in this case,
so game 1, it went 48 minutes. It was a good one. That's the only time Liquid ended up winning. And even then it was like a shock and like it had a crazy ending. Like even half of OG was like still alive in their base where Liquid still they focused on the agent and killed it before OG could stop them. So that was kind of a nutty finish. But other than that, game 2, 32 minutes. Game 3, 23 minutes. Game 4,
which
24 minutes.
Those are incredibly
domination.
fast times. Yeah.
Straight up domination on OG side there in the grand finals. Listen, any time in Dota when you are willing to go into someone's fountain and fight them in their own spawn, like you're going to have a bad day. Like when the other team is so cocky in this team fight that they're going to push into your own fountain, like you might as well call GG at that point, because that just means that they are riding a high right now that you cannot compete with. And sure enough, OG was doing just that in the finals. So they ended up winning 3-1, again, like we said, being the only team. And again, there hasn't even been a player to win 2 TIs. And now you have the team the same exact roster from last year. They did not adjust it at all. It's not like they're just dominant rosters, right? They've had kind of an off year ever since winning last year's TI. There was even a little time where they just took Dota off. They just said we're stepping away for a little bit, and no one really knew what was going to happen after that. They did say in an interview during here, I didn't get the audio, but that they were like, sometimes you just gotta take a break. It is what it
You
is.
just need to step away for a minute.
Right. Like
Yeah.
some of us wanted to continue playing. Some of us wanted a little a break and a vacation. We honored that. We let everyone take some time off. We came back refueled, and it worked out. Clearly, it worked
I
out.
mean, what? So it came out to roughly around 3 million per player.
Yeah, like 3.1, give or
Yeah.
take. I mean, total they won 15.6 million was first place. Liquid still took home a sweet 4.4 million. So
A little under a million a player per second.
Yeah, still
Not bad.
Still
Not
a
a bad
pretty
payday at
nice
all.
walk away. And
Yeah.
I wanted to just play one quick clip of audio for you here. This was No Tail talking. He's on OG for those who don't know. This was prior to the finals, so this is like pre-tournament media day interviews that they're doing with them, right? So this is before they won, but they asked pretty much, what words of wisdoms do you have to give to your fans out there, and this is what he had to say.
Is there anything else that you want to add to fans of OG and fans of Dota, just in general, just about where we are right now, sitting here getting ready for TI9?
Just remember why you sat down to play for the first time and why you keep sitting down to play. I mean, maybe you forget along the way. I have forgotten along the way, but it's a game that I truly love, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one. There's so many players. The good parts, again, focus on the positivity, enjoy the games, enjoy your teammates. Don't queue for the next game if you're in a bad mood and you know it's going to be a bad game. Queue if you're looking for the fun, if you're looking for something good, if you're looking for that nice game or nice experience. And that doesn't mean winning. Some of the best games are still spent losing. And yeah, some people get caught up in that as well. Play for fun. Have fun. Enjoy it.
And I was watching that live, man, and I was just like, damn. What like a level-headed person, Like you were talking to the best player in Dota 2 on the best team, defending TI champions, and like it's just such a basic concept, but like he says it so. You know who it reminds me of is like Steel in the Counter-Strike scene, like very thoughtful answers, very
Brazilian Steel.
Yes, yeah, Brazilian Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not the other Steel. He does not give thoughtful, calm, reassuring responses. And even then, like after they defeated LGD to get to the finals, they did an interview, and I wasn't gonna pull the audio because it's just a downer. But it's No Tail talking about how it's been really emotional for him because his dog died like 3 weeks before the tournament, and he dedicated the win to him, and he like thanked his dog and just wishes he was there, and like he starts crying. The interviewer starts crying, and I'm like,
I wouldn't
no,
be able to handle that.
no, we're
No.
done. We're not putting that on the show. We make Hong Kong protest jokes. I'm not doing a sappy dog story.
No, but his advice is so true. I mean, we honestly were talking about that last night when we were playing, right?
Yeah.
We were looking at a couple different games, and we were like, let's just go play Counter-Strike, because win or lose, we're enjoying what we're doing, right? We tried to switch it over to Apex for a little bit, and it's
Did
like,
not
okay,
enjoy
we're
it. Did
like
not
not really
enjoy
feeling
it.
this. Like, let's just go back, even if we're not winning there. You still have fun moments, and it's true. Like, I mean, that's how you should enjoy your gaming experience. You should enjoy it. It shouldn't be a job.
No, I just wanted to play. I thought it was a very good answer. It kind of
Yeah.
resonated. Like, yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, even on a pro level, it's just it's not worth it if it feels like work. Quick shout out to Anna having one of the more dominant performances I've ever seen in Dota. As Game 2 versus LGD, he was playing Alchemist and just at one point was having 100 or 1,000 gold per minute. I think the team ended up having like 28,000 gold net worth or something like that.
God.
That was another one that like lasted, I think, like 22 minutes or something like that. It was real. And then LGD was so cocky that they didn't ban Alchemist the next game. And so sure enough, OG picks him again. And even they they interviewed the coach like before the game started and they were like, "So what are you doing? Like why didn't you
He
ban
already
him?"
had another character planned out to play, just
Right. Like
assuming it
they
was going to
knew
be
they were
banned.
going to ban him, but
Yeah.
so yeah, it's unbelievable. Just tournament overall by OG. So it was a very exciting international, very successful one. Like I said, next year they already announced it's going to be in Sweden. That's always been a dream of mine to attend one. Maybe a little bit more likely, depending on where life takes us. But that would just be really cool to see. It would really be
Yeah.
cool to be in that building, just to feel that energy and everything going on here. So we'll see. We'll see. To wrap up the international talk, I wanted to talk a little bit about something not so much about the event itself, but afterwards. I've been on the record saying that I hate when events are made a big deal because of the prize pool. I think it's a shtick that esports has, and it's a good shtick. Don't get me wrong. You want people to care about your event, slap in $1 million prize pool, and you're gonna get people looking at it a lot more. You know, look at Fortnite or a lot of the Counter-Strike tournaments. You know, they have these. Sometimes like there was that one tournament in Dubai. Remember that in
Yeah.
Counter
You
Strike?
could go from a nothing to an everything tournament with a prize pool in CS.
You really,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, you could be a
I mean,
no-name
in
tournament.
any esport, if you're willing to put the
Yeah.
money on the line, then yeah, you're gonna have
If-
the top teams wanting to attend.
If
and
Rocket League all of a sudden
respect.
announced a $10 million tournament, you know that will be a highly watched, sought-after event.
Yeah,
Which is why I don't like it, because that shouldn't be what dictates it. It should be the circumstances of the event, the storylines leading up to the event, what you get being out of it. Like, for example, the international, you now know OG is the best team in Dota. You know, in Counter Strike, the major, you kind of think that that's the better team. That's a different
but
segment.
what about a game like Fortnite? You know, like for the Fortnite World Cup. I mean, I felt like that was really only garnered the hype that it did because of the prize pool, right? Because there really wasn't much on the line in sense of there wasn't a season leading up to it.
Right.
There wasn't anything coming up right after it or anything that it qualifies you for or it gives you, something going forward, right? It was really just the prize pool that made it what it was. If the prize pool was 100K for that, I mean, no one would have looked at it the same way.
So I think Fortnite fans would have looked at it. I would like to think Fortnite fans would look at it similar, but I will agree with you, Anuj. The mainstream media definitely would not have looked at it similar. And that's
No,
where
yeah.
the Fortnite World Cup caught a lot of its media attention because of, like, what do you mean? This one kid just won $3 million, right? And
I mean,
then
Slasher was on Fox News 3 times because of
oh
the
my
World
God.
Cup.
Yeah, and he's
I
been on a
mean,
dozen
just
times
because of
since.
yeah.
He's about to sign his Fox News contract to be their official esports correspondent, just have his own show. But it's funny that you bring him up because he's one of the people that I kind of have a beef with, because he kind of leads that fight where, you know, he always likes tweeting out the comparison of like, huh, this person in esports compared to Tiger Woods won this much money, you know, and checkmate their traditional sports. And it always comes across to me as like some kid in high school that finally has a chance to make fun of the jocks who made fun of him all the time.
Yeah.
And I know I get like Slasher also tweets out about normal sports. I'm not saying he's like that, but I'm just saying that's how it comes across to me. I don't know. Can we not?
I
Can we
get
not
it. I mean,
make an argument to people who are like, well, I don't understand what's big about esports. It's still just kids playing video games. Well, these kids won $3 million. That will never convince anyone to watch esports. Like, I will never, like, for someone who doesn't care, they're not going to be like, oh, well, really? Well, I didn't know that. Let me watch Dota.
I don't know if that's necessarily the agenda though, is like a suck it kind of agenda, right? When we or they, Slasher or anybody else tweets stuff like that out, it's almost like, okay, make fun of us all you want, but we're a big deal, and that's almost the way I take it. And a lot of those instances is Well, you can say what you want to say. You can hate esports if you want to hate it. You can tweet out crap to us when it plays on ABC, CBS. Anytime it is on, it generally gets a large hate following online. But look, hey, whatever you want to say about it, we're just as relevant in terms of prize pool or what you can gain from it, right? Like what you can gain from playing or participating in the sport. Look, people that are playing in the NFL, people that are playing in the NBA or golf or whatever, they're doing it largely because of the money, right? They had a love for the sport at a young age. But when you start to realize your potential as you're going into college, you're getting, scholarship opportunities, it's all about going pro to make money. I mean,
Right.
you're going to be rich if you get an opportunity to play in one of the big three, big four sports. And so I think I take it a lot of the times is when we have some of these larger prize pools, and as we continue to see them to grow, the way I look at it is like, look, people can like make a living, so you can say what you want to say, but these guys are doing it for the same reason that anybody else is playing one of their sports is you can make a fantastic living if you're one of the best at it. And that's what those numbers show me is like I'm happy to just see where esports has come from because you and I have seen the polar opposite, right? You could be the best in your game and would have been happy if you made 80K for the year in like
Right.
tournament winnings, right? You look at
Yeah,
a
and like
team
that's not
like
that that's literally I mean that's still the case in some scenes.
look at what Ninjas input. Look at what Faflaren is currently asking for or venting about, right? In terms of the money that they were not paid in prize pool earnings for him. That team won every freaking tournament in Counter
Yeah.
Strike at
They
that
were
time,
the best
and
Counter-Strike team at that time.
undisputed for a whole year. And he's talking about like not being paid maybe $30,000, $40,000. It's a lot of money, and he should be rightfully so upset about it. That's not the point. The point is just look at how far we've come in just a few years. Is if you had a team nowadays like Liquid, who let's say did the same type of record that Nip did in that year, you'd be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars per player that they're not getting paid in tournament money. So the prize pool, although I don't like to make it a focus or what dictates what is like the biggest or best event, it helps so much when it's a combination of the two. A TI with 35 million versus a TI with 1 million. The TI would be looked at quite differently, at least in my opinion. Fortnite, same thing. Counter Strike's the one outlier, in my opinion, just because the game is the best esport game out. I mean,
Well,
it's
they've
just so
never
damn
had the
popular,
high,
right?
right? They've never
They haven't,
they've never seen the mountaintop yet. Like
but
where
the fan
Dota
base
and the
knows.
TI sees a new mountaintop every year. Like
Yeah,
every year Dota is like this can't get any better until the next one. And then all of a sudden they get more money, right? Counter Strike is like, so are we gonna get our visas for this? Or are we for like how can the international happen all the time? You never hear about visas.
bro, if there was a $35 million prize pool on the line for a
You think
CS:GO
teams would be a
major,
little
there
bit
would
more?
not be one visa issue. I get it; it's still important, still dumb that they do happen, but trust me, it'd be a whole different level of people be applying for their visa a year in advance just with the hopes of making it, to the major.
Yeah.
So,
And I do understand like I said, I am looking forward to the day where prize pool is not part of the headline for esports. I mean, like I'm looking at
I
Slasher's
agree.
tweet right now. He goes, "Tiger Woods won 2 million for winning the Masters." Did you know that? Did you have any
No,
clue when he won that Masters? You were like, "Oh, I can't believe he just won $2 million."
no,
No.
I know that he won the Masters. Like
He
it was
won
the
the
Masters.
Masters and that makes him the best golfer at that moment. You know,
Yeah,
Djokovic, like, I'm a huge tennis fan. Little fun fact about Tim, I love tennis. I don't know. I had no idea Djokovic won almost 3 million for winning Wimbledon. Not a clue. Like I didn't
this is
even
like the
know they
first
had
time we're
prize.
seeing those numbers. I
Right.
think for a lot of
Like
people, right?
right, like
Yeah.
you mean there's prize pools for these tournaments? Like why isn't this like a talked about? No, it's only in esports do we talk about prize money and prize pools the way we do. Now that's also because I mean for the that's how esports was built and that's how esports is ran, right? It's off of prize pools for tournaments, but I I hope for a day where we're not just talking about a prize pool,
Are you
and that's
talking
why a
about
tournament's important.
mainstream media or like, because like internally within your community for that particular game, we all know the importance of it, right? Like you and
Right.
me know the importance of a CS:GO major. You and me know the importance of the TI and what it does just for their notoriety and future value and all that. But mainstream media, man, I think that has like, unfortunately, I feel like it still has a while to go
Yeah.
before.
And if that's what we have to do to sell esports to people, then I'll begrudgingly jump on that
Yeah,
method. But yeah, it's always been a thorn in my side that like that's what we focus on, and even some people in esports, right? Like that's kind of how they try judging important
even
things.
like people like us, we kind of have to do it to a certain extent when we're looking at potential advertisement opportunities and all that. We are having to also at the same time not just pitch ourselves but pitch the value of esports, right? Like pitch the value of these games and what they're bringing in and what they're doing. And we almost show that a little bit hand in hand, even for people like us, because the outside people that don't know esports, that's like what they care about. That's what they
Yeah.
want to see is how big is it? What does it do? Like how many people is it reaching out to? Not, hey, how important is the CS:GO major? Like they don't care.
How much do
Not yet.
people care about the CS
Yeah.
major? That's what we care about. No, yeah, they don't. Advertisers don't care. That's a completely different world, right? Advertisers, I'm not even going to try to argue with them because they are all about the numbers, and I totally get that. So, but yeah, that's just I don't know. We'll hope to see it one day. I think for right now, though, if we completely try to ignore the prize pool discussion with mainstream media, you would be taking a big gamble and a big risk as far as how you want them to like. It's hard to convince someone to care about something when there's no emotional thing involved. And what's more emotional to someone who doesn't know anything other than money? Like
Yeah.
if I know nothing about cricket, but if you had a cricket match on and I was like, oh, what's this, Anuj? You're like, oh, this is like the biggest cricket tournament in the world, blah, blah, blah. It's got this storyline, that storyline, that storyline. And the winner gets $100 million. Then I'd be like, oh, I understood that last part.
Let me check it out.
I
Yeah.
understood that last part. So I guess I just convinced myself that I'm dumb because I just made a point to argue my point. So
It
GG, Tim.
works.
GG. GG. But you know what could also be worth $100 million, Anuj? Your Thrive account. When you go to Thrive, download the app. That's THRIVE, Thrive Fantasy. You download it. You make an account. You use TCR as the code. You will get $10 free for your first $10 donations. Let me do the math here. That's 10 plus 10. You carry over the 1. That is $20 in your Thrive account for only spending 10 when you use TCR as the code for sign up on Thrive Fantasy. You use that, you bet, you gamble responsibly. Football season is coming up. They have NFL, baseball, they got League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike. Their esports scene is always growing. Every week I look on there, they have new stuff going on. You could turn that $20 and make the TI look like chump change. You could be laughing. You could be the new headline for esports. So that again is Thrive Fantasy. Use TCR as a code at the startup. Let's get into Counter-Strike though. Even though we've kind of been talking about them all day, but there are some juicy storylines already in the new challenger stage of the Berlin Major. Like I said, still not completely wrapped up, but because now we record on Sundays, we'll talk about everything else next week. Because you still have the 2-2-2s who have to play tomorrow. Those will get your final 3 to move on and your final 3 to be eliminated. But we already have 4 teams or 5 teams moving on and have going home. We'll say it that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I think it's kind of, at least as of right now, panning out the way we almost thought it would. I think the differences being some of the highs and lows, right? Your 3-0s versus your 0-3s. are obviously a little bit different than most people would have thought. Um, the people that are in the middle of the pack tomorrow will really decide a lot in terms of, okay, this went as planned, or oh wow, this is going to be a really different looking, legend stage that we're running into.
Yeah. We said last week there's always one team that will surprise you. So far it looks like that's crazy. Despite having the worst logo and name in all of esports, they were able to look past that and go 3-1. So they are moving on to the new stage. Or
And they
the
were
was it Legend
projected by
stage?
many
New
to make
Legends?
it, including myself. I mean, Crazy had been playing really well going into the major. Especially people like Hunter and um, Otto. Like these guys are really stars in the making. And even Nexa and like some of their mid tier. I guess I don't want to say mid tier, but some of their role players have even really stepped up and played really well. They looked really really good. I mean, the Counter Strike that they were playing, um, I want to say it's conventional, but they made it look easy. Like it felt right. They weren't doing anything completely out of the ordinary, like playing overly aggressive, like we've seen Furia have to do to kind of change the pace. Like they were just really good at executing their strategy, and so yeah, they although I think maybe 3-1 kinds of have them stands out right now with teams still Vitality and all these guys still fighting for slots. You know, Crazy is shown to be able to play with these guys at a high level. I'm more shocked that like teams like Greyhound are still alive and performing well. Simon Gaming again being 2-2 and having a chance to what isn't it Simon?
Yeah,
It's like
I laugh
Simon Gaming.
I
Yeah,
laugh because it's just yeah, I just thought they were going to
Simon
be
Gaming.
0-3. It's
Yeah.
just I mean, who would have thought? Like that was the team last week that we were like, yeah, we don't know anything about them.
Dream Eaters, same thing. I still can't name somebody on Dream Eaters, and we're like 4 games in for them, and so these guys are all still alive and have a chance to knock out. I don't want to say they're knocking out heavy favorites other than Vitality. Vitality is,
Yeah, Vitality is the
clinging
only
on to
one that
life.
is still in the 2-2 area where you're like, what are you doing there, dude? Like
Look, and if they lose
like
to
NRG
Greyhound
should be there, or
tomorrow,
G2 should. Oh, I mean, hell, dude. Any team that has already moved on should be there, other than Vitality. Like any of those teams, North and Mouse
agreed.
Sports went 3-0. G2, NRG, and Crazy went 3-1. Take any of those teams, they should be where Vitality's at, and Vitality should be moving on already.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, Vitality started off really, really in bad shape. They dropped that very first game they played. They were the opening round or opening game for the major. They lost 16-8 to Simon. It didn't continue well from there. I mean, I think they dropped. I think they went 0-2 before they won a game, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe
Vitality,
that's
no,
wrong.
they
They
lost
won
to
one
Simon,
one
beat Ints, and then lost to
and
Dream
lost to
Eaters.
Dream Eaters. So like the teams that they're also losing to, they've lost to Simon and they've lost to Dream Eaters. And Dream Eaters is the team that they are not playing. Dream Eaters is playing Forza. Simon is playing Avangar. So um thankfully, I guess with this reseeding, the way it's worked has, I think, given the three favorites an opportunity to advance tomorrow. Avangar, Forza, and Vitality are all the favorites at least heading into these games. But yeah, these like mid-tier teams that not a lot of people knew a lot about, including ourselves, have really showed up. It shows the depth of Counter Strike. I mean, again, we were looking at when they advanced the major and added this extra stage. It was like, oh gosh, what kind of CS are we going to see at this level? Um, I hope it's still like good teams that are playing and whatnot. But we're seeing not only some of the best teams involved in this stage, but the teams that we thought would be on the lower half really performing at a high level, like really playing well.
We did say Furia last week was a risky pick to move on. They went 1-3. I really do think that they are what I said they were, and they were a team that got hot for 3 or 4 events, looked really good in a
Yep.
time where there wasn't a lot of Counter-Strike going on. So like they were the story and they benefited from it. But I clearly they weren't as good as we thought.
Yeah, their aggressive play style is what's hurting them because people are catching on to it, right? So, like, as you mentioned, when they were hot, they were also the new team at the same time, like the new kids on the block. They weren't
Yeah.
attending several big lands prior, to the last few months. And so when they were there, they have a unique play style that they also, again, were very good during more of the AUG meta. That has shifted and people have caught on to their play style. And their last opponent, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on who they got eliminated by. Don't
Simon
have that in Simon eliminated. So these guys
went
mentioned
0-2.
well, they mentioned that in their play style, they were asked in an interview after the match how they approached it. They said, "Hey, look, we knew they're going to be aggressive. We're just going to sit back and we're going to wait. They're going to push. We're going to let them make the mistake, almost like we brought up tennis twice in one show, but the tennis mentality of, hey, just get it back over. See if you can get the other guy to slip up, like get that
Right.
miss hit, get it off the side of your racket, whatever." That's how Simon approached that match against them. Was let's let them be overly aggressive. We'll catch them. We're not going to be the ones to push. We're not going to be the ones to go through the smoke. We're going to let them make these mistakes. And again, a team like them is catching on that. I find it difficult to believe that they're all of a sudden going to turn this around after this event and be again a top tier team. Not to say that they're going to be bad, but yeah, I do think people understand.
The thing that makes me nervous about them, if you're a Furia fan or just a Brazilian Counter-Strike fan in general, they just signed those contracts. Like, the team that you're seeing now is the team that you will probably see for a while.
5 years only.
just 5 years, not a big deal. So
Yeah.
I just, that's what makes me nervous about them, is that, like, the ownership, I felt like, even got caught up into that hype to where,
Yeah.
like, you gave them a Virtus Pro contract here, and even
Without
Virtus Pro
any
couldn't
real
survive.
accomplishments. Virtus Pro is a heavily accomplished team. You're talking about a
Yeah,
major
no.
winning
I'm saying that,
team.
yes, Virtus Pro earned that contract, but
Yeah.
even once they got the contract, they couldn't survive the length of that contract. So now you're giving a team that has had 4 good performances, and you're giving them a 5-year contract. Well, now if things don't turn out well, what are you gonna do now? Like, you're kind of set. You've kind of made your own bed.
100%. I think another team that it's brought up a lot of controversy in this major has been Complexity. Complexity getting eliminated today, losing 2-0 to Greyhound. I don't know what people's expectations were of them coming into the major. My
What did we say
expectations were
last
that
week? Did we say?
well,
I
I
don't
didn't
think we
have them
really talked
advancing.
about them, right? We
Yeah,
kind of, they were kind of like a throwaway afterthought of, like, no, they're not going to make it through. It's Complexity. Let's move on.
like you're looking at the talent, looking at the teams that were remaining and were playing to advance. We had them in that last slot we discussed. It was like the last slot. Hey, there's 3 or 4 teams here that could kind of be competing for it. Hell, you kind of can throw Complexity into that mix also, but it was still unlikely that they did advance. And so I know today, um, after the event, you probably have the tweet there in front of you. Um,
I
but
do.
it definitely drummed up a lot of controversy.
Yeah, so Jason Lake tweeted out, this was after they were eliminated, like Anuj has mentioned. So he tweets, "I love our players as individuals, but these results won't be tolerated. If you're a tier 1 player looking for a fresh start at the best facility in the world, hit me up, bro." He didn't say bro, but hit me up. I'll pay your buyout and give you the world's highest salaries. Let's build a juggernaut. Spread the word. Heated tweet from Jason Lake. And then after that, he tweets out saying, he doubles down and says, no, I talked about the players before tweeting this out and told them exactly what I was thinking. So the players are aware of this. I'm good with it. I'm going to keep the tweet. So he doubles down.
There's 2 sides to this. So I'm going to go with the positive here first. I love the enthusiasm. I really do. I would love to see Complexity in our backyard be one of the best Counter-Strike organizations in the world. I would love to see him go get players like Coldzera and possibly build around him. I would love to see that for Complexity. To see Complexity back again would be fantastic. At the same time, there's also the reverse side of this. I think the timing was a little bit off here. Although I agree with what
A
he's
little bit
saying.
off.
Yeah, I mean, these
Like,
guys haven't
dude,
even flown
let
back from
let your
Germany yet.
guys pack up their equipment before, like, they're still wrapping up their mouse before he tweets that. Like,
Like,
come on.
there's going to be a full roster mania time that's going to happen after the major. We all know that. And I kind of wish he had just done this with his actions versus his words in this case. Again, who are we to tell Jason what to tweet out, what not to tweet out? It's not about that. It's just the timing felt a little bit off because these guys, I know the players that they have put in a lot of work leading up to this major. It's not like they weren't trying. Okay. In fact, a player like OBO, he's 15 years old. He's just learning what it's like to be a professional still.
School just
I
got
thought
back in.
school just got back in session. He's got, eighth grade algebra homework to probably take care of. Um, I guess what I'm saying is I know these guys put in an effort to do it, and I wish there was a little bit more respect for the player in this case, saying like, man, you're representing our organization, even though you're not performing at the level. Like, I appreciate the hard work that you're putting in, right?
Right.
I know he says he values them as individuals, but it's like also saying I value you as an individual, but like not as a player. You guys kind of suck,
Right.
and that's how it looked.
Like,
So
and he was like, I have a job to do too. And I agree with 100% that of what you're saying. And I wish I didn't. I wish I could come in here and play devil's advocate and be like, well, maybe they should get good or something like that. But in a world that we live in where, I feel like in esports, everyone typically tries to decide what's best for the player, Like, hell, even when Furia signed those contracts, like, everyone was like, whoa, like, this organization just fleeced them for 5 years. Like, that's way too long.
yeah,
Like, people were still upset about that, where, like, some people could look at that and the org was like, yeah, I just thought I gave him job security for 5 years. Like, why are you guys complaining? And so I wonder what people think of like Sir Scoots. Like, what does he think when he sees this tweet? He works with the players union and everything. Does he see this tweet and says like, "Ooh, not cool, dude"? Like,
well, he said spicy. He did retweet it and say spicy. I saw that on my timeline actually just a moment
so
ago.
like, what does that mean though? Like,
Yeah, who knows what it means? Yeah, like again, from a player's union standpoint, whatever. There's no, in my mind, no harm, no foul. And
I'm
yeah,
not saying
he
no harm,
can-
no foul. I'm just talking from a org treating their players point of view of like, I said it in the pre-show meeting. This is like, like when you quit work, you put in your 2 weeks and continue working that to kind of give
Yeah.
your job some time. It's like the opposite. This is like you're firing them and saying, but can you stick around for 2 more weeks while I look for your replacement? As you like
until
just
we find a way to dump
so
you
I can
here.
just give me time so I can dig your grave before I put you in it. Could you do that for me? And that's what it felt like to me, where it's just kind of like, I appreciate the passion. If I was a Complexity fan, you want that fire in your ownership. I just would like to have a little bit more tact to it as far as, like, first off, who did you think you were, right? Like, what was Jason Lake's realistic expectations going to this major? Like, did he really think, like, I'm take off his, ownership cap for a second, put on his realistic hat for a moment, and say, like, did you really think, like, maybe you were expecting to be out of the new Legends or new Challenger stage, but remember last major they kind of overperformed. Last major,
100% they overperformed. It was the
last major
surprise
they
of the
were the
major.
darling story. They were
Yeah.
that team last major that went through it. So for him, I think sometimes, he brings up the best facilities in the world. Maybe this has a little bit to do with like the Cowboys money getting to his head, thinking like, damn it, we should be better. We have all these training facilities and I eat breakfast with Jerry Jones and, like, we work out with the Cowboys. Why are we got to be better than this? It's like at the same time, you're still Complexity. You are still the team that has really not been relevant since 2014 when you trade or when Cloud9 bought your roster out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Complexity hasn't been relevant since 2014. And I'm sure that's a lot of the frustration on his part, right? Because now they have the money They have the facilities. They have the ability to be the best in the world, but they're not. But that's all due to like talent, right? So again, with this roster, if they made it out of this stage, that would have been a win. Again, like that would have been the goal. There would have been nothing beyond that. Hey,
Right.
let's make it to the
Right.
legend stage and then let's make a run in legends. That was never going to happen anyway, right? I'm sure the expectations were, hey, we should make it out of this stage. But again, looking at the teams, like that was no easy task. Mouse Sports better than you, North better than you, NRG, G2, Vitality, hell, even like a team like Hellraisers, Avangard, like these teams have better proven track records as of late
Yeah.
than they did.
You
And
would have
so
had
it
to
was
pull you would have had to pull one or two upsets to make it through if you were
for
complexity.
sure. I think a lot of the frustration also comes from who they lost to in this case, right? Losing to a Greyhound is not a good look in a best of three. That's not one of the teams you would, you think you should have a chance against them, right? You beat the only 3-0 team or 0-3 team, um, which is Tyloo in this case. Other than that, you lost to Avangard. That's a team proved yourself. You could have had a chance to beat them. I just don't know what the realistic expectation, I guess, from most people, at
Yeah.
least outside
Like
of the organization, was
and I
you
understand
weren't going
like
to make it out of this round.
sure you did poorly at the major. You should probably look at roster moves. You should probably look at blowing up your roster. That's fine. But just to do it in that way seems
Felt a little off.
really weird to me.
Yeah. It
Seems
seems out of character for him too, right?
oh
Like
yeah.
Jason is one to you see him with the passion, the fire, the love for his team constantly. So to then slam him that way just seems a little out of character for him. And
And so like I love our players as individuals, but these results won't be tolerated. Okay, fine. That's a good line. That's a normal pissed off owner type of line. We're changing the
yeah,
culture around here type of talk. If you're a tier 1 player looking for a fresh start at the best facilities in the world, hit me up. That's where it got weird cuz you're pretty much saying this is an open tryout now. No one
yeah.
is safe. I'll pay for your buyout. I'll give you the world's highest salaries. That's pretty much saying Cold called me. Like,
If they
Cold's
were
there,
able to
call
do
me
that,
up.
I mean, I guess they obviously have the money, right, with Cowboys money. But yeah, I mean, that line right there, it's like, wait, do you know what the buyout is for Cold? Like,
Yeah.
it's probably 500, 600,
It makes you wonder,
700K.
like, back when Tarek was a free agent, like, did they go for him and he decide not to go to complexity? Like, is this like a sticking
Yeah.
point to Jason? Like, that was his first chance of getting a big free agent with the Cowboys facility. And Tarek was like, no, I'm going to go to NRG. And now he's like, kind of pissed off about it. And he's like, no, this is it. You're coming to me. I'm putting this out there. We're going to make this work. It's just it's just a weird way to throw it out there.
Yeah.
You could have said, I love our guys. This won't be tolerated. We're going to change the culture around this. I promise as an owner, I'm going to do everything in my power to make a winning team. Boom. There you go. That's your more politically correct way of calling out your team for sucking.
Taking a little bit more of the high ground
Yeah.
for him, right? So, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, complexity, we hope to see changes. I think it'll be good. Again, I would love to see them be a juggernaut, as he so lovingly quotes there. Again, I guess we'll wait and see what they end up doing. That'll be a fun story to follow. On the flip side, there were some positives that came out of this tournament as well, right? It's not all doom and gloom. There were some teams that we would have loved to see perform well that really stepped up to that task. I think Mouse Sports obviously comes to mind right away, coming out 3-0 out of the group stage, and for them, we've kind of been waiting to see it click a little bit more across all cylinders. Frozen has kind of found his way. Kerrigan's leadership really seems to be showing up, and even with the Walk Six Mouse drama that also took place during the first stage, um, they were able to come out
What
with a
happened that?
relatively. So his mouse broke, I guess, day one, or maybe it even happened during travel. He had to get a sub mouse. I think he uses a Steel Series mouse. He was using a Razer Death Adder or something like that instead, which is
Shout out.
obviously a
Also,
different.
that's probably why they went 3-0 because he ended up switching to a proper mouse and a Death Adder.
Well, the funny thing is,
A
like he did
man's
look off.
mouse.
There were times where you saw him like miss shots that are very uncharacteristic of him, but um, with them advancing, obviously these issues can be rectified. Note to self: bring an extra mouse, especially if you're a pro player. You should always have double of your equipment. I mean, it's free,
Bit
so
odd that you don't.
yeah, don't make that mistake again.
A bit odd.
North, a little bit of a surprise going 3-0. I don't think so much of a surprise advancing, but a little bit of a surprise that it is the second 3-0 team that we had there. KRB was on fire. They did have the match of the tournament. I mean, could potentially be the match of the major. With it going into like 6 overtimes, I think KRB dropped 47 at one point, and that was against Crazy, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure who it is.
Talk about North?
Crazy. Yeah, North.
North, yeah.
Uh,
2-1 crazy.
yeah, they again, one of those matches went into like 5 or 6 overtimes. It was absolutely insane. Go watch the VOD. If you get a chance, that was a great match. NRG again, NRG and G2, we can kind of talk about them together. Held their ground. With G2 in particular, I was really impressed with how consistent they looked on CT and T side, right? Like T side's always been a little bit of an issue for them, I feel, at least when they've had their struggles as of late and now started to trend upwards. But it's good to see not just Kenny S and Shocks be the focal point of the offensive strategy, right? You saw Amanek, you saw Jax, like these guys did really well in several games, and they seem to be at a high point right now. So excited for these top 4, and I'm hoping Vitality gets a chance to jump through to advance, because we're really going to have an amazing legend stage coming up. You're going to not only have the teams that are there, but the teams that advance through this round are really all playing at a high level.
And it's kind of neat to see these teams too, because like you mentioned, like G2, North, Mousesports, NRG, those are Counter-Strike staples. And for all of them, that's been kind of struggling lately, right? They haven't been top 10 talent, maybe some, but not for them consistently, right? Some tournaments they look terrible. It's kind of cool to see, like at the major, it's almost like experience and knowledge kind of wins out, right? Like just they know how to handle these events going into them, and maybe not getting overhyped or worked up or something like that, So it's cool to see teams like North and G2 back in it. So
And look, don't be surprised. I mean, I think it's an advantage for these teams that are playing well in this stage. I think it's very likely that you see at least 2 out of those top 4 teams advance from the next stage as well. I do think it is an advantage to them to get a chance to play on the stage, get a little bit of that major experience this year under your belt.
because don't
A
forget,
lot of these guys are
some of
veterans
these
also.
teams, some of these teams in the next stage, look at them. MIBR with Zeus, right? They don't have Cold playing. What are they there, right? You don't know. Renegades
team that's going to be eliminated soon.
Yeah,
That's what they are.
Renegades, right? Not the Dallas Renegades, but the Detroit Renegades. So you don't get confused. The Arena football team is not playing in the major. And then you have NIP, which, who knows what they are. Ents, can they ride that high from what they were last major? They've
especially knowing the roster swap is coming for them, right?
Yeah.
They know a change is like
they
coming
already
after
have a
the
lot
major.
loaded, right? So that's weird. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Some of these guys going into the new Legend stage could easily
Look, I
make
would
it
take
through.
Mouse, NRG, and G2 over all those teams you named right there to
Yeah.
advance over them, or have a better chance of advancing over
Yeah.
any of them, from
Or at least
MIBR,
not be
Renegades,
surprised
and
at the least.
no, I mean they all have. Even throw like Crazy and North into the mix, they're I think equally as capable of advancing through that next round. So we're set up for another great weekend of Counter-Strike. This one is already been fantastic. I think tomorrow will be usually these 2-2 games, you hope not to see one of these teams fighting for their lives at this point, but it makes it interesting for tomorrow morning to see Vitality and Forza and some of these guys get a chance to push through.
In fact, by the time people listen to this, they'll probably already be set, because I think they start at like 6 or
5
something
a.m.
our
or
time or
something.
whatever. So
Yeah.
let me tell you what, man. Okay. I understand the world does not revolve around America, but could we at least let the time zones do it? Because this is brutal. Between the TI and this, it's like my sleep schedule is so jacked. Like,
TI, I knew I had no chance of making the finals last night around 2 o'clock when we were playing. I was
dude,
like,
we
nope.
were up. We were playing Counter Strike. Anuj, me, and our buddy Branderson were playing Counter Strike. It was like 3:30 in the morning, and I had fully intended to stay awake to watch the finals for the TI that were supposed to start at like 2 or 2:30. It is now 3:30. They haven't started the first game of a best of 5 at Dota, which God knows how long that's going to take. And I was like, yeah, I'm done.
I woke up
I'll catch
to
the
the
highlights.
ceremony.
Did you really?
Yeah, as soon as I woke up, I turned it on, and they were literally doing like the final like host segment.
What
type
time was
thing.
that?
I woke up pretty early. It was probably around like 7:30 ish.
Damn. Okay, yeah. See, so
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah. So it's just ridiculous. I wish there are a lot of things in esports, right? I already complained about the prize money being headlines. I also think maybe we can start it. TCR can start it. Is a united esports clock to where we just say this game is starting at 2 o'clock. What's that mean? Esports time, 2 o'clock.
That's it.
Figure it out. Go on your esports app and it will tell you what time it is in esports time, but it's going to start at 2 esports time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them like they ended it a little bit later over there, but at least it gave us an hour or two to wake up. Starting at like 4, 3,
I
and
mean,
4
clearly
a.m.
they
is a
don't need
little rough.
us for their viewership numbers because even the Counter-Strike major is doing well, but it's just rough,
Yeah, they'll
man.
be fine.
I'm just
It
saying,
is.
think of us. Think of the Americans next time, okay? We don't get anything going
For
our way.
once. For once.
Just please. We're just sitting here. Other than that, little bit of drama. We kind of already teased at it, but the thing with Valve games is that they have the in-game client streaming TV, like GoTV, and Dota has it to where you can watch the major and stuff like in the game. And so the thing is that Valve came out and kind of said a couple months ago, it's been a while now, but said, look, you can do it, but you can't like make money. You can't show advertising on your stream if you're streaming the major or a Dota tournament, right? Like you just can't do it. So everyone's like, okay, cool. So everyone does this for the Counter-Strike tournament. Well, all of a sudden you start seeing, relatively well-known Counter-Strike streamers getting banned from Twitch or, temporary banned. And everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And sure enough, StarLadder is like, what's up? Yeah, it's us.
We own it.
Yeah,
it's us. We're doing it all.
We're doing it. Don't freak out. It's us. You don't have to ask questions because it's us. And so now everyone's upset at StarLadder saying, well, I hope you never get a major again, blah, blah, blah. And Valve, of course, is sitting here just sipping on their TI Kool-Aid, not giving a
Watching
rip.
the Dota, watching the major on the other end.
I love that you have Valve having 2 of their games having massive tournaments going on right now. One is just everyone is just like, congratulations, Valve. The TI was so amazing. Dota is so amazing. Congratulations. And then you have on the opposite side, the StarLadder major going on for Counter-Strike. And everyone's like, what the is going on? Like,
Valve's not even hosting it. It's like no involvement. They're just like, hey, yeah, you got this.
yeah,
Do what
right?
you want to do.
You're good. We're gonna go.
Sell the
We're gonna
broadcasting
go to
rights however
Shanghai. Are
you
you
want.
guys good here in Berlin? All right. We'll talk to you later, man. All right.
Yeah.
Bye. It's just look. I understand that people are upset because they were given the impression that they could stream it and do it that way. But at the other side, I do understand from StarLadder's perspective saying like, look, it's our thing. Like, no, you can't use our event for your streaming whatever, right? For your streaming goals. Like I get it from both sides. I don't know.
I only get it from StarLadder's side if that's the official ruling. From
Of
my
course.
understanding, it was GoTV. You were allowed to stream it off that as long as it didn't have any of the StarLadder like statistics and banners and things of that
Right.
sort. Obviously, no commentating coming from their end. That you could do it. I was always under the assumption that that was allowed. I mean, you've seen it for every other major. It's
Yep.
not like not only other major but other events.
if it
that it happens all the time.
I've kind of always been under the impression that if it's on Go TV, then you can do it because you're not streaming the event per se. You're streaming CS:GO. You know, you're doing that. So
They're coming out and
Valve
saying,
needs
so
to come out and say
StarLadder,
something.
StarLadder is what they have come out and made a statement themselves. And they said basically, hey, we are not only streaming this in English, but we're also streaming it in these 10 languages. So if you want to stream it, you have to use not only one of our logos or our advertisements and all that, but you have to let us know what language you're planning on streaming it in. It can't be in one of these 10. So, okay, well, you just took out 90% of the world population right there. And you have to also like give us your daily number updates or whatever. So there's like a list of 5 different things that they need to do in order to be allowed to stream it. So that's all fine and dandy, only if that's now like the official
rules.
ruling, right?
Right.
So I'm really interested to see when
Valve
Valve
needs
decides
to come out and say something. It's almost embarrassing at this point that Valve hasn't came out and set the record straight at this point. I mean,
they're like, we don't want to pay our weekend lawyer rate fees, guys. So we're
it's
gonna
really expensive. You don't understand.
we're gonna take this on Monday.
So it's we'll I guess we'll just have to wait and see then. Maybe it'll be after this stage. Maybe they're just waiting to say something.
We'll for sure hear something this week. There's no way this can go on until next weekend and run into these same issues again. So
Yeah.
I would expect to hear something within the next.
And I
couple of
haven't heard
days, if
anything
not
about the No
tomorrow.
Major Club having any issues with this though. Have they ran into issues?
Well, I know Flom was the one that got banned. I don't know. I mean, I think Richard Lewis was streaming it, but I'm not 100% sure. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
like I
know.
said, I poke my head into the stream, but I don't. I
Those are
like
people you
the-
don't. Those are people you probably don't want to poke too hard anyway. So if
Well,
they
that's what
were
I'm
doing
saying,
it, there's
right?
even
Like
a chance where it's like,
if there's one group of people that just let them do it, let them do it, right? Ban
Yeah,
ban
there'll be a-
your 800 view stream.
if you go against the wrong person, there'll be an article out tomorrow about how there's sexual abuse going on in your organization and everyone's about to get fired. So hold your tongue when you go against those guys because they got more info than you know. But yeah, not right either way. So I'm waiting to see what the official ruling ends up being. I hope you could stream it. That's always been one of the cool things. So
Yeah, of course, and that's always been kind of something I always wanted to do too. You know, is maybe us just kind of do our own little TCR theater while we watch a major and just talk over it or something. But oh well. Oh well. I would almost be flattered if Valve did find our stream and banned us on Twitch. Like, we saw that you guys had 3 viewers. Can't have that happening.
300, you mean?
All right, so for E-News, brought to you by Anuja's mom.
For now.
With CSGO, Exist and Twist are benched for Fnatic. So Fnatic, again, making moves. Don't know who. I think they've already said, like, they're just going to wait till post-major to really do anything on this. There were some
Yeah.
rumors flying around. Decay did an article about... Who was it? I'm blanking.
Like Flusher or any of these guys?
Was it
I don't know.
somebody? Yeah, I don't know. Whoever it
Flusher
was.
and All Off are coming back
Yeah,
and they're going to give it another
But
go.
it wasn't Flusha. It was somebody that's never
No.
been on the team, I thought. I forget the name. I didn't write it down.
I'll text Decay after the show. Let me
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so.
Why don't we
Okay.
hit up TK and ask him? Either way, and then JW quickly came out and said, like, look, I love this guy, but no, he's never been an option for Fnatic. And Decay was like, oh, my bad. So whoever that person was, it's not him. Now you know why I do a podcast and not write articles. League of Legends, this just actually ended up wrapping up right before doing the show in the LCS Summer Finals in Detroit, Michigan at the Little Caesars Arena. Shout out. Liquid ended up defeating Cloud9 3-2.
COD, we got some interesting stuff here. We got COD for the Cronky Sports and Entertainment Group acquired the spot for the second Los Angeles franchise. So to go along with Immortals,
We always
you
knew there
will
was going to
now
be
have
one.
Yeah, and I think nobody's surprised that there's 2 for LA again. You saw that here with Overwatch League, Call of Duty. It makes sense as well. A lot of these franchises are based out of there. So
Too big of a
Cronky,
market. too big of a market to have one.
Yeah, Kroenke getting that second LA spot, which is sad to see because you kind of know 100 Thieves is not involved, so that's going to be a
And
little
they
odd
are
that
the
100
owners of LA Gladiators, so they already have ownership there. So yeah,
So
it's
no
a
100
bit of
Thieves LA spot.
yeah, a bit of a bummer that it's just like a outsider getting the slot, right? You don't have that, but
Well, 100 Thieves is not even going to be involved in the COD franchising next year, so they're
Right.
not even going to have a spot, which is
Nate Schott already
weird
came out
'cause
and
they-
said that
yeah, they seem like a COD team to me. I mean, I don't know. I know they have other sports, obviously, but
I feel
that
like
just seems kind of a
I
baby
think that's
with
just
Nate
because
Schott
of
being
Nate Schott,
involved.
right? Like Nate
is,
Schott is
it is.
COD, but even then, like he was kind of late to the party with CWL.
He was. Misfits acquires the spot for Miami. Misfits Gaming also makes sense just for
Florida
the simple
Mayhem,
fact that
you know,
they
they're
have
they're
the Florida
continuing that.
Mayhem, so
So interesting to see a lot of these Overwatch people now, are buying into it, which of course they had first dibs, right? They had the first dibs to get into it. So that's why you're seeing a
Yep.
lot of them doing it. First dibs at a discounted rate. And also, though, I think it kind of speaks that Overwatch League is working for them. Obviously, no profits or anything like that have really been posted, but I mean, if they are willing to spend this type of money to get into the Call of Duty League without having a Call of Duty, or like there is no team that they're branching off of, like Misfits or
Correct.
anything doesn't already have a successful Call of Duty team. It's kind of crazy to see now how that they're
there's
like,
plenty
yeah,
of talent available for him.
we're buying in. We're buying in.
Do have I think that's it for pretty much for E News.
Yeah, it
One
was kind
show
of a
announcement.
Slow week.
One show announcement to make. I guess next week we will not be doing a Sunday show. We will probably do that on Monday.
Maybe.
Reason being, yeah, maybe. So we'll get to y'all. It might be an odd week next week in terms of show. We are going to be hosting a little LAN event at my house over here for the release of WoW Classic. I know this is not esports related. We brought it up last week, but again, just a reminder,
a
I know a lot of
nerd.
our listeners have brought it up, and if you are interested in joining us, we'll be on the Farolina server Alliance side, but let us know. We will also be streaming this all next weekend, so really Friday to at least Sunday of next week. You'll see a live
Yeah,
stream going on in
dude.
here. It'll be a little LAN party. There should be like 6 of us all crammed in my little
6
room
dudes
here.
into that same office you see behind a nude right now if you're watching
There'll
the
be
stream.
A table there. There is a table behind me, and there is another gaming spot off to my left.
It
over
is
there.
going to
So,
be hot
um,
and
it'll be cramped.
moisty.
Probably not going to shower for a couple of days. So, anyways, I think that'll be fun. Hopefully some of you guys come in and tune in and check it out. We'll obviously just be chatting. It'll be a lot of story time and just some fun old school gaming, something that we both are looking forward to. So
Yeah, so that will be there. Next week's show, well, it's good. We're gonna have to just figure it out. Monday is also my baby's due date, so on Labor Day
True.
is when my child will be here. So, maybe I can tell my wife to close her legs for a little bit, and we can get the show in, and then I can meet her at the hospital. We'll see what's going on there. So, yep, just kind of keep an eye on the Twitter, right? At the Center Ring, get all the up-to-date show news and everything there. But yeah, definitely love to see you guys in the chat for our WoW Classic stream. Faux show. But that will do it for the show. That was episode 172 of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I know we did. We always love doing these things for you guys. We'll be back next week. We are going to do an episode next week. It's just a matter of when. So we'll figure that out.
expect a lot of Counter-Strike talk on that show,
Oh, there'll be
and
so
probably a
much.
little bit of a Overwatch update there.
Yep, Overwatch League ended up wrapping up. We were going to talk about, we just wanted to save Overwatch to do one big Overwatch League segment. So we're going to do that probably next week, as there's just won't be as much going on. But that's all for then. You go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Join our Discord from the link in there. Again, if you listen on iTunes or anything else that you can leave a review or a comment, please, 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 please do so. I am told that really helps out. So, plus, you know, we also just like to pump our own tires a little bit and see the reviews that you guys leave. So that's always nice. So go ahead and do that on iTunes. And that's pretty much it. So again, I'm Tim for Anuj. We'll see ya.